Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the wrap party of WYSTEM. And hopefully you enjoy my new little hat. This is actually the sorting hat from Harry Potter. So obviously, as it is a wrap party, we wanted to make it fun and special for you because this month has been really incredible, and hopefully you found it to be really fun. We learned about science, we learned about technology, we learned about engineering and 3D printing, we learned about mathematics, and I think we just had a really, really good time. And as you guys all know, you all had the opportunity to win a 3D printer for your school. And that's what we're gonna do at the end of the show tonight. I have a little bowl here of everyone, all of you who submitted names, and I'll read those off, and then I'm gonna randomly draw, and then that school is gonna win a 3D printer. So when you're able to go back to school, you're gonna be able to do 3D printing and do a bunch of really cool things. So I would just I want to thank all of you for watching the videos. This has been a really fun experiment. And as tonight, I'm just going to kind of bring everyone together. Amy and Dan, Dr. Dan Serdam and Amy are still busy, obviously, at the clinic. But I do have 3 of our 4 week hosts. So I'm going to bring them up right now so we can kind of have a nice little conversation. So let's see. Who do we have here? Hi, Teal. Hi, Tyler. Hi, Lars.
Hi, everybody. Hi, WYSTEM crew.
Yes, WYSTEM. So we're all kind of wearing some special things. I've got the Harry Potter sorting hat. What do you have going on there, Teal?
Well, I am wearing my ready-to-go cowboy outfit, cowgirl outfit here. Yep, so I've got my hat. I am ready for my state. I've got my cowgirl shirt on. I am ready for tonight.
You look stunning. Well done. What do you have, Mr. Care?
I'm wearing a mastodon hat. So it's very much like a woolly mammoth. It's actually made for dogs, but my head is tiny enough that it sort of fits.
Oh, all right. There you go. Fabulous. And Mr. Kotoff, what are you wearing? You're wearing color, not black?
Oh yes, now this is very special. This is my graduation gown, and I thought I would wear this tonight because you all have now graduated from WYSTEM. There will be no certificates or anything, I'm afraid, but you get to walk away with all the knowledge that you have gained, and to celebrate that, I am donning my gown, which is not black.
Wow. Well, obviously we've all taken significant amount of attention and care to what we were wearing today because obviously it's the wrap party of WYSTEM. So what we'd like to do tonight is just do a quick recap of the 4 STEM areas and just kind of talk about it, the things that worked, the things that didn't work, and so why don't we go ahead, because the way that you were able to win a 3D printer was that each week we had a secret code word. And I can tell you right now, there were 23 of you that submitted names that matched all the code words. So one person's going to win tonight, which we're super excited about. So let's find out what was the code word for week 1. And let's talk about week 1, which was science. So I'm going to transition to a video about science. Let's find out what was that code word.
2 to 1.5 gallons, which is how many cups?
Oh my gosh. Don't put me on the spot like that. I need paper.
It's about 20 to 24 cups of blood. So when you think about that, when you're pouring your cereal in the morning and you grab a gallon of milk, you can think about 1.5 of those is about how much blood that the human body actually has.
All right. So week 1's code word was healthy. So friends, what did you guys think about week 1? I think what I liked was, Amy and Dan obviously knew a lot about a lot of things we talked about. And I love those videos from the vaccine makers talking about how viruses actually get into our bodies. Then I thought it was super cool that actually they drew Dan's blood on part 2 and talked about the different parts of that blood. So what did you guys like about week 1?
I guess for me, I thought it was really such a really neat inside view into the medical world. That's a place that I don't often get to go and see kind of the inner workings of how a clinic might run, and taking blood and things like that. So I thought that was really interesting. I also really liked, their dynamic of working together and how much, just how knowledgeable they were. And just, I thought they had a really, really engaging way of teaching us about, viruses and all the things that we learned that week.
Yeah. Tyler, Lars, do you have anything that you learned that week?
I agree. I think it helped for somebody who doesn't really delve into that world very much. They did an awesome job of breaking it down in a way that we could understand. And some of it, admittedly, was, for me, a little gross, but it humanized it, and it made it interesting and not as scary as I thought it would be.
And for me, it was definitely the blood every time. But I've worked in a hospital before, so I've seen lots and lots of blood. But it was very interesting.
Yeah. I think Dr. Dansterdam showed us how to wash our hands, which actually I now use religiously. It's doing this and then getting between your fingers. But then I loved how I never thought about your fingernails, how to scrub like this and then to make sure that you get your thumbs. I just thought that was that's how you properly wash your hands. So yeah, so I thought Science Week was really, really awesome, and we were super happy to have Amy and Dan do that for us. And then obviously after that, we moved into Technology Week, which Teal, you were the leader of Technology Week. So what would you say, what was your biggest takeaway from leading Technology Week? Now that it's done and over, what did you glean from that?
So for myself, I think what I gleaned from it was it was interesting for me to kind of step outside of what I do every day and try to think about it from a perspective of folks who might be new to some of these areas. And for me, that was really helpful. I learned a lot too, just in terms of preparing materials and putting kind of my thoughts together in a hopefully somewhat cohesive manner to help translate that. So that was really interesting for me. And I learned a lot too, especially in terms of that second night, with talking about, disease transmission and how we use technology and live data, to get a really nice visual look at that. So for me, I would just say I took away a lot in terms of being able to put some things together and think it through and understand, a lot of the issues that we're dealing with right now from a technology perspective.
Yes, and Teal, you did such a great job, so thank you very much. So now we have to figure out what was the secret code word for week 2. So I'm going to go ahead and play week 2's code word. Let's find out what that was. Here we go.
For my proposed house location. So I'm going to say I live here on Rainbow Street. And I also, again, want to understand, how much exercise am I getting when I go for my walk?
All right. So week 2 was circuits. So I think most of you got circuits. So what is a circuit?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, what is a circuit?
Lars, what is a circuit?
Yeah, computer scientists, tell us.
You're the computer scientist.
Yeah.
Okay, so a circuit is really just an assembly of smaller parts, so individual components, and these can be transistors, these can be a CPU in your. I unfortunately don't have the main board here. Otherwise, I would be able to show you. But it's really just an assembly of components that are connected in certain ways so that they can communicate and can exchange information. And one of those components might be doing some part of the math, and another component might be outputting something to a screen, and another component is connected to a keyboard or something like that, or a touch screen on a phone. All of these are wired together so that information from the touch screen can go to the CPU and then back to the screen so that you can see what's happening there. That's all it is.
I have a question for Lars.
Oh. Ooh, go for it.
Does that mean then a brain is a circuit?
Very good question, Tyler. Yes. A brain is exactly like a circuit. And in fact, the entire nervous system of the human body works like a circuit.
Interesting.
Fantastic.
You learn something new every day, huh? So what would you say in Teal? So Lars and Tyler, I think the thing I loved about what Teal presented was just like maps and like how important maps are in general, like being able to understand what's happening in real time with, geospatial information. It's like you really don't, you think of maps of like just Google Maps, I'm trying to get to point A to point B. And that's really kind of what I think most consumers think of like is the value of maps. But then like when you actually add all that data to a map, I thought that was pretty outstanding, that we could learn a lot and track a lot of things in real time just using data and maps. What about you, Tyler or Lars? You want to add anything to what you learned in week 2?
What blew my mind, and Teal, I went down a rabbit hole and I was Googling and I was super into it. The stuff with Jon Snow and the cholera outbreak and how that was plotted out. Well, one, I got hooked because of Game of Thrones, but it was actually an even more interesting story. So that was that was what resonated the most to me, was just how powerful maps can be in terms of direct applications to things like this.
Mm-hmm. Lars, do you have anything that you learned that week?
And well, so I really, really like maps because, well, they're connected to mathematics, as we have found out, and I use maps all the time. So I have a little fitness tracker thing here, and this has GPS in it. So when I go on a hike, I can afterwards look at where I went for a hike on a map. And I do have actually something to show you, but maybe you can continue, and I will go and get a book that is somewhat relevant to what Tyler and Teal just talked about.
Oh.
Back in a second.
Interesting.
We have a special surprise.
We have a book coming.
Oh, here we go. Let's find out what this is.
Oh, yeah.
What do you have, Lars? Oh, he's got to put in his headphones.
So this is a book on visualizing and showing information. And one of the examples in here is actually that very map that Jon Snow made, that Teal and Tyler have been talking about. Here's another map that is, I think, very nice. And this was the map of Napoleon's journey into Russia and then retreat, showing the strength of his army at various points. There are many, many things like this in this book here. It's called The Visual Display of Quantitative Information by Edward Tufte. And you can find this at any bookstore or online even. So if you're interested in this, I highly recommend this because it has lots of pictures in it that you can have a look at. And there's also, you won't be surprised to hear, lots of math behind it.
Oh, this sounds like a beautiful bedtime story.
I'm not sure if it's suitable for a bedtime story, but maybe...
Are you saying because it'll lull you right to sleep, E.T.?
Yes. I'm like, oh, this is so boring. I'm going to go to bed. I love it, though.
I think it's
love it.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Thank you.
Of course you do, Teal. Of course you do. Well, awesome. Yeah, week 2 with technology was super great. So again, thank you, Teal, for sharing all of your passion and enthusiasm around mapping and tracking. And then we moved on to week 3, which was engineering week with Mr. Tyler Kerr. And so, Tyler, what would you say? How would you recap week 3 for everyone?
Well, we talked a little bit about what engineering is and the most common types of engineers. And how engineers kind of work together with scientists and with other groups to come up and solve problems. So at their core, you have to take anything away, it's that engineers are really good puzzle solvers and problem solvers. And then we talked about specifically how to start 3D modeling. So you guys remember we had Brayton in the background, and he was 3D modeling something from scratch. And he was just going where his heart took him. And he ended up 3D modeling a little cute rat. And so hopefully you guys learned a little bit about the basics of starting to 3D model. And then on the second week, we dove into the what I consider the really, really exciting stuff. So how to start 3D printing. So you guys did some awesome designs to make, I think we made a doll and a trinket from Harry Potter. And And then we 3D printed them live, and Brayton and I showed you guys exactly how 3D printers work, and how you guys can get started. For the one lucky school who gets this 3D printer, how you guys get started 3D printing.
Yay! Yeah, so let's find out what was the secret code word for week 3. So I'm going to cue the video now.
But you can think of a slicer kind of just like a 2D paper printer program. So when you guys print with your printer at home, like your HP inkjet printer, you have to say, I want this to print in color. I want this to print in black and white. I want this to print super fast, super slow. And that's kind of the same thing here. So what you do is you say, I want this to print at this resolution. So I want the layers to be this high, or I want it to print this fast, and I want it to have this thick infill. So this sort of lattice work inside, I want it to be this thick and strong inside. Or I don't really care about what's inside, so I want to keep it all loose in the middle.
So the secret code word was filament. So, Tyler, what is filament?
So filament is the spool of plastic that we use to 3D print. And let me see if I can grab one right now from home. So this is a wrapped spool. I'm going to open it up, and we're going to take a look. This is what is fed into the 3D printer. And the dogs are very excited. They think it's a toy. So if you can see, right up there, that's filament. So each one of those lines is just the string of plastic that we heat up, feed in that hot nozzle that acts just like a hot glue gun. And that is filament.
Nice. So I think what I took away from your presentation the most in Engineering Week was just how versatile 3D printers really are. Like, I mean, you can print, obviously at the WTCC, we've used them to print masks and face shields, but you can, like in Lars in week 4, showed us all these really cool things that you can do. And I think, now the world is starting to realize just how powerful 3D printing really is. And as we're able to print with more and more materials at a more effective cost, like that's going to be, it's going to change the world. Like I think one of my favorite stories that I heard about like 2 years ago was, people's ability to go to the moon, or not to the moon, to Mars. You think about, because what does it take? 9 months to get to Mars? So if we had a 3D printer and we had a recycler on there, if you needed a plate or a fork, you could print that, use it, and then recycle it. So you don't have to have this huge payload that's taking us from Earth to Mars. So 3D printing probably is one of these technologies that's going to enable us to go into intergalactic space and colonize other planets, which is super cool.
Yeah. And so building off of that, there's actually the winning idea, and this was civil engineers at work. So this is a great example of the folks who build bridges and large structures. The winning design for the Mars structure is a 3D printed house. So if you guys were to Google 3D printed Mars house, they look like these tall lamps. And they, what they do is, all you do is set up the little 3D printer robot on the surface of Mars, and it takes Martian soil, and it uses that to 3D print, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
All right, where's my ticket? How do I sign up for this? Like, where's the next rocket ship? Isn't like SpaceX like launching a rocket here soon? Where's my ticket?
I think that's the prize for the next WYSTEM.
Oh, okay. Oh, that should be the next prize for the next WYSTEM. It's like, if you win, you're going to Mars and you're going to live in a 3D printed house. I love it. I think one of my favorite things too is one of our leadership team members here at the WTCC, because we had a competition, right, Tyler, where we asked people to use the Sculptra software that you had introduced, and we got a few submissions, and then I think we have a student named Anna. I think Anna's from Anderson Elementary School, and she won it. And we actually 3D printed her doll that she made. And then Jeremiah actually did kind of a slow capture of like how this 3D printer printed her model. So I want to play that for you right now. Let's take a look at it. So I just think that's so. I'm gonna see if I can like try to replay it because I've watched it like 10 times. So let me see if I can do it one more time. Because
Isn't it super cool?
Yes, it's fascinating.
You did such a cool job. That thing was crazy. That's printed on a Prusa printer.
Yeah, so like you can like you were talking about when that code word showed up about kind of the interior of the thing, like being that like hexagonal like crosshatch shape, but that was like really cool. So yes, what did you learn, Teal or Lars, from week 3 of engineering?
I guess for me, being new to the 3D printing world, I mean, I have to say, I definitely leveraged WYSTEM week or WYSTEM engineering week for all it was worth, because it's all new to me too. And it was really neat. I was so excited to get to take a tour and to really get a sense of, all that can be done. You're just talking about the things that can be built on Mars. And I've learned so much about what can actually be done. To me, it was just a little bit of this fictional thing that, that sounds really cool, but I don't know that much about it. And I definitely, have been very much introduced to the power of 3D printing during engineering at WYSTEM. So thank you.
Yeah. Lars, do you have any final comments on what did you learn from Mr. Care?
3D printing is cool.
3D printing is super cool. And I mean, that's obviously kind of like the whole big prize of WYSTEM, right? Is that one lucky school in Wyoming is that we're going to send you a 3D printer, and we're going to know here very shortly. So, and actually Jeremiah also made a comment here on YouTube, that the International Space Station has a 3D printer and a recycler on board. So there's a 3D printer orbiting Earth right now. Like, that's so cool,
wow.
Right?
That is really cool. Yeah.
So I can't wait to get a 3D printer into one Wyoming school so that you guys can experiment and play with it. But we have to wrap up one more week before we find out who that lucky winner is. So obviously this week was all about mathematics, and it was Lars Kotov. And so Lars, how would you, again, like we're done now. So how would you describe your experience in mathematics for week 4?
Well, I would say that there weren't quite as many technical difficulties as I had planned. But apart from that, it was really quite nice. Watching myself afterwards, I found that when I hold up things to the camera and then point to things, I really need to point in the side where the camera is, because otherwise you can't really see it. But yeah, had a look at some cool 3D printed stuff, and we had a look at how math kind of ties everything else together, and how you need to know at least a little bit of math, maybe not even very complex math, to be good at these kinds of things, making maps, all these kind of things. We had a look at coordinate systems with a very catchy song to tell you how all of this works. Go back and have a look at it anytime. Your parents will thank you. And then on Thursday, which I believe was just yesterday, we had a look at how all of this ties back into the reason we're doing all of this, the coronavirus crisis, the pandemic that's going on, and how mathematics can help us there as well by having a look at the data and then doing some mathematical modeling, which will allow us to say what's going to happen in the future. And then we can react to that and change what we're doing, like stay at home, not go to school anymore, not go to restaurants. And this then, as we saw, flattened the curve, literally. You saw the curve, and it was flatter than it was before. That's what flattening the curve means. That means we don't have as many infections. That means everything is kind of still okay. And that really means that it works. And math was behind all of this. So, yay, math.
Yay, math, and yay, STEM. I think one of the things you bring up, Lars, is that obviously, thank you all for bearing with us through a variety of different technical issues. This is the first time that we've ever put on kind of like a live production, and the software that we're using is very complex, and you click the wrong button or there's audio on. And so I want to thank everyone for bearing with us through YouTube banning and audio on that. So I do have 2 clips. Like on night 1 of WYSTEM, I had set this whole thing up. I think it was good. And then all of a sudden I noticed that the camera had turned on. So I'll play a little clip of when I was surprised to find out that, oh, I'm live on YouTube. So here's that. Hold on. And that's hard to believe that that was like early May. And I was like, oh my gosh, the camera's on. Oh dear. And then Lars, obviously, like this week, because we had some YouTube videos linked on the live stream, you know, YouTube found out and censored some of those things. But I just felt that the way that you handled and justified that this was part of the plan was like super amazing. So I definitely want to play a clip from Lars from last night when things weren't going according to plan. So here we go.
For those of you who didn't watch on Tuesday, I just want to mention that because I'm a computer scientist, everything I do has to have some technical difficulties. So us talking in the background during the video, that was entirely intentional. It wasn't an accident. I think that that's probably somewhere in my contract. So everything going exactly as planned.
So it's like, obviously, like, it's hard to know sometimes on like when we're on camera, when we're not. Like, is audio being recorded? And obviously, Lars and I were talking, and it was like, oh, they can hear us. Oh, we got to be quiet, you know. So thank you again for sticking with us. This was the very first time that we brought people from all over the state of Wyoming to celebrate science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and again, thanks for Anderson Elementary and everyone in WTC that made this happen. So yes, thank you, Lars, because you just kind of made the blooper thing. That's like you landed it so well. So. But the last keyword was, what was the secret code word of week 4? So we're going to go to that next.
I don't want to go in for every individual point and say that, okay, now move this point, now move that point, now move that point. Sounds like a lot of work, right? We really don't want to do that. So again, instead, we shift the entire coordinate system. And this is actually what I've been doing all along.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the secret code word was robots. So Lars, once again, if you could explain what a robot is in a sentence or two, what is a robot?
So a robot is really just a bunch of circuits thrown together. So there's circuits in the kind of brain to make it think, and then there's circuits to make it see, circuits to make it walk. That's all there is to it. Think of it like a laptop on wheels.
Follow-up question.
Oh, please do.
Does that mean that we're robots?
Are you a laptop on wheels?
No, but we are a system of circuits commanding muscle groups.
Well, okay. I guess I should also say that robots are usually made from silicon and metal and these kinds of things, and most humans are not. I'm not sure about
Prosthetic silicon leg.
so he is part robot.
But isn't that called a cyborg?
Yes.
Like if you're like half biological and like semi non-biological. So, all right. Look at all these deep questions, right? That we're like starting to dig into. So obviously, if you are excited about science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and obviously the arts as well, like there's so many things for us to continue to explore and to build and to find jobs, you know, and really, I think Wyoming can easily be the leader of that. Here I am saying that with this sorting hat on. Wyoming will be the leader, as we're all wearing weird things. So
you can sort everybody into science, technology, engineering, math.
Oh yeah, there you go. So
the houses, yeah.
So before we reveal the winner, because we are kind of beginning to run out of time for WYSTEM, I think basically what I would like to end with is, before we do the drawing for the student and their school, is have each of us talk about what was your favorite part of WYSTEM. This is a multi-part question. So sorry, Teal, Tyler, and Lars. I'm kind of springing this on you on the last moment. What was your favorite part about WYSTEM? What do you hope that the kids around Wyoming and even adults that are watching take away from WYSTEM? And then maybe lastly, when you were in high school or you were in school in general, were you considered a nerd? Because I think maybe I'll start to make it a little bit easier. So I think, one of my favorite things about WYSTEM was, is partnering with Anderson Elementary School and running the Wyoming Technology Coronavirus Coalition and being able to create something that had meaning and matter in the moment. And it was really fun to kind of on the fly learn how to do a bunch of these things and to share, some really amazing people with you. And I really hope that you guys take away that, having careers in science, technology, the arts, engineering, mathematics, they're very, very important. And it's okay to go into those fields because we need more STEAM and STEM people working hard to solve the world's problems. So that's what I would hope you take away. And was I a nerd in high school? I absolutely was a nerd in high school. I did speech and debate. I ate in my speech and debate teacher's classroom every day. I didn't really have a lot of friends, so yes, I was a nerd, but here I am today and I'm still happy. So who wants to go next?
I'll go.
All right, Teal.
So I think what I took away from our WYSTEM month here was really, even for myself, who am in a STEM career and have been for a while here, but really getting a sense of all of the interconnectedness of all of the things that we've talked about over the past month, and how there isn't one single component of Science Week, technology, engineering, or math that doesn't in some way rely on the other, and while we all are, maybe specialized in certain of these areas, we all absolutely rely on those other areas in order to succeed in our fields. And to me, that really was brought home, I feel like, this month, and something that I very much took away is how interconnected we all are and all of our fields really are. And then was I a nerd? Oh, yes. Yes, I was. I was a bookworm. I was very, very shy, very introverted. I read books. I rode horses because that was a very solitary sport. I did force myself to play soccer, but I wasn't very good, and team sports were not my favorite. But anything that I could do that was really on my own was definitely my favorite thing. I didn't quite think I would wind up in STEM, to be honest. I thought I would be more in biology or something like that. But as it turned out, what's the connector of all the things? It turns out that it's all of these interconnected STEM fields is where I found myself. So yes.
All right. Who's going to go next? Tyler or Lars?
I'll go.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
So I think my favorite part was just seeing exactly how varied and widespread these different things can be. So like STEM is not a narrow field. It is broad and far-reaching, and it has all sorts of different types of career paths in it. So for me, when I get really excited, we teach a lot of different STEM coursework in the makerspace. How to use different technology to apply it to different technology puzzles or various engineering problems. And so I just get so excited, I get like butterflies in my stomach thinking about the day when this is all over and we can open up the doors of the makerspace and people can start coming back in and creating. So for me, the week and seeing what some people had started to create was like that breath of fresh air to see some of the students making some amazing stuff and just looking forward to that day when we can keep creating. And And so was I a nerd in high school? You tell me. This was what I bought in high school. I thought this would be super cool. I was actually an extroverted introvert. So I really, you might know that I like to talk, but I loved paleontology and I still do. And so I purchased this. I'll leave it to you guys to figure out what this is. If you can post it in the chat, see if you might know. But this critter's from La Brea.
Ooh, La Brea. That's Los Angeles area, right?
What's that?
Is that from the tar pits of La Brea?
It is, yeah. I should have worn this as my hat.
Oh, you should have. Oh my gosh, it's like right next to your eyes too. Oh my goodness. Well, very cool. And last but not least, Lars, what did you take away from this? And were you a nerd in high school?
So my favorite part of all of this was really when I was preparing what I was going to talk about, or rather when I was preparing what not I was going to talk about, but somebody else was going to talk about, and had looked for all those YouTube videos to give you the ones that we selected, because some of these are really, really cool. Like the one we showed yesterday with the exponential growth, like when you fold your paper many times, you can go to the moon. That's pretty cool. So that was really, really interesting. And I encourage you to explore more because there's many, many more out there that do some really, really cool stuff. Was I a nerd in school? No, obviously not. I was the cool kid. What happened? I have no idea. Oh, yes. And the one thing I want you to take away from this is that math doesn't have to be boring. It can be really cool. And you can use it to 3D print stuff.
All right, we'll have to take you at your word for that, Lars. Well, yay! I think WYSTEM was really fun. It was really awesome to be able to share so many different things with you guys. Hopefully, you enjoyed them as much as we did. But probably because just as a party normally does, we are going overtime. And so what you've all been probably waiting for is the results. Who's going to win a 3D printer for their school? So maybe really quickly, Tyler, what the 3D printer that the school will win, what can they do with this 3D printer? Or you said you just got one that they're going to get to?
Yeah, so I won't pick up the box because you guys will have to, you just watch me really embarrassingly lift a heavy box, but I'll show you. This is the 3D printer. And so this guy, I just got my own, which I'm very excited about. I got it for Christmas. And it just arrived, but hopefully yours will arrive a little faster. And you can print, the print bed is 7 inches cubed. So it's a 7-inch cube. So you can print a ton of stuff with that. What I'm going to use it for, I'm a big board game nerd, but I like making my own board games. So I'm going to use it to start 3D printing some prototypes that I'm going to force my friends to play.
Ooh, not nerdy at all. Not nerdy at all. All right. Well, are we ready to find out which school in Wyoming is going to win a free 3D printer
yes,
for their school?
Drum roll.
All right. I know, drum roll. So let me switch over to me and let me tell you how this all works. All right, so we had 23 submissions, and I've got all of your names. So I'm just going to like randomly draw one. Like here's one right now. This one is, let me see if I can, oh gosh, I'm going to go to this camera over here. This says Nathaniel from Cheyenne Anderson. So we had 23 submissions that got all the keywords right. Here are all the 23 in this bowl, and I'm just going to randomly draw a name, and then I will reach out to you and we'll kind of coordinate the delivery address and all those kind of things. So we have cities from Cheyenne, we've got Casper, we've got Laramie, we've got some homeschooled ones is there as well. So one of you is going to win. But before I pull the winning name, which I know I'm driving you crazy, you know, don't be sad if you don't win, because you can ask your parents for your birthday or for Christmas to buy you a 3D printer. Sorry, parents. But, you know.
Ours.
Yeah, exactly. So don't be disappointed if you don't win. Obviously, we only have one 3D printer to give away, and we want to give that away. But we hope that, through your experience of WYSTEM, that you've really are getting excited about coding and modeling and making things. So maybe do your chores and work hard, get some extra money, and get yourself a 3D printer so you can do this from your home. So that's my little thing to you. Don't worry if you don't win. We can only pick one winner. So it is time to choose the winner of the 3D printer. So let me get my little congrats text kind of ready here. I know we're all ready. All right, I'm playing it here. I'm stirring it around. I'm not looking in the bottle right now, the bowl, whatever this thing is that I'm holding. Okay, this hat is making my brain, it's losing oxygen to my brain. All right, I'm going to find the right one. Oh, which one's speaking to me? Oh, it's this one. Oh, it's this one right here. Oh, that one fell off. Okay, oh, I got it. I've got one in my hand. Here we go. All right, so this is the winning name. The school that will be receiving a free 3D printer because you participated in WYSTEM will be, let me just flip it over, see if you guys can see it. In 3, 2, 1. Liam from Cheyenne Miller. There we go. So, Miller Elementary School. Liam, you won a 3D printer for Miller Elementary School in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So congratulations. Yay. Look, I've got congratulations on there. So yes, that's pretty cool. So I will reach out to you, Liam, and your parents, and we will coordinate the delivery of your 3D printer. It could take a couple weeks, but then have fun building it and making things. And again, we want to talk about 3D printing is super cool. It brings all the STEM fields together. As even Lars showed, that little map of Wyoming is super cool. So it brings in technology. It brings in so many different things. 3D printers are really awesome. So grab yourself one if you can. And then Liam, I'll reach out to you. Congratulations, Miller Elementary School, for winning a 3D printer from WYSTEM. Yay!
Yay!
All right. Well, anything else before we wrap up WYSTEM? It's over. Well, it's not over because we hope that we've inspired you to continue careers in science, technology, engineering, mathematics in Wyoming. There's plenty of cool people here. Look at us. These are the cool kids right here. We used to be nerds in high school, and now we're the coolest people out there. So you want to be like us. So if you want to be like us, continue to talk to your teachers. There's plenty of opportunities in Wyoming to continue your career paths, and we hope that someday we'll be joining you in the labs behind a computer screen and really building some cool things for the state of Wyoming. So I can't thank all of you enough for participating, for being a part of WYSTEM, and for everyone that made this happen. So thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. And I guess that is it. So until next time, everyone, have a wonderful weekend, and we will maybe see you sometime in the future. All right, ET signing off for WYSTEM. Good night.